There was a moment when my mother and my father separated, and my father didn't want to deal with the situation, nor did my mother's, but my mother had to take care of 4 boys by herself. 4 boys. We went from knowing what it was like to wake up in the morning to seeing mom and dad and having breakfast and lunch and dinner together, to now living in the car, living in the park, living in shelters, listening to hear my mother argue with family members and friends, talk about why they couldn't take us in for an evening or for a morning. Going to school, wearing the same outfit 3 to 4 times out the week, sharing each other's underwear and sharing each other's socks because that's all that we had. Walking into a room where there's no bed, there's no dresser, there's 4 garbage bags and they're full of clothes that comes from the shelters or from the places where they donate clothes. And each one of those bags was owned by one of my brothers and I. And that bed that we didn't have, well, that plastic bag where our clothes was, that's what we slept on. And that's what we had to go through every day for weeks, for months, for years. There were moments when we had an opportunity to go back with our father, and we did. And when that happened, my father abused us mentally and physically. There were moments when my father decided to just like abandon us, and when I say abandon us, meaning not be a father, by throwing us in the basement where we stayed there for weeks. I remember my brother Alfonso, who was there for over a month, and every day from school we would go down to the basement and stay there. And down there was with 3 dogs, and they weren't vicious, but what it was like for a young kid that's in the 4th or 5th grade or you know, just trying to figure it out, and all he was trying to do was, you know, he just had a lot of anger. But your father, who didn't want to take the time to love, sat there and told your younger brother to go to the basement. And instead of him sleeping in the bed, he slept on the floor with the dogs. He slept in the car if the car door was open, which was stationed in the garage. But it was cold. You know, what could you do? And in those times that I was there with my brothers, you know, I slept on top of on top of the wash machine. And when it was too cold, we would turn the dryer on and we would put our heads and our hands in there just to keep warm. I slept on top of a wash machine. And here I am, and ask myself why, you know, why me? I'm the oldest out of these 4 boys, but you know, why did God put us in the hands of someone who said he loved us, but when you look at the examples in which he provided, none of it showed it. I mean, there were lights in the beginning, there were lights in little spurts where you felt like Dad protected and loved us and cared for us, but for the majority of our time, we were scared, we lived in fear. And I couldn't understand how could that be. I love my mother. I love my mother with all my heart. And even with all that love that I have for my mother, I can never understand how could someone give birth to 4 beautiful boys and allow all of us, each and every one of us, to go through the situation that we went through. I know that we all have vices and flaws, but Mom, you could have been stronger. You could have been more full of faith. You could have survived. You could have made it. And you know, I just couldn't understand how my mom would go through that struggle before. But I know that it was difficult. I know it was hard. But I felt like she relied on someone who was weak. She relied on a human being that was weak. And she based her faith, based her strength on a man that couldn't provide the necessities for a woman to be strong in her own right. And so even though, like, I was always told that, a woman and her children are only as strong as the man that which she stands upon. But my thing was that she should have got rid of him a long time ago so that she can be able to be strong for a long period of time of her life. And I think it's just tough that, a woman who I adore and that I care for did things and left us with no food at times, left me trying to take care of my brothers. I was a boy, but I had to try to be a man for 3 young boys who were just looking and yearning for love and someone to care for us that we can call mom and dad. I can't remember the last time that I received a hug or a kiss from my mother when I was a kid and really said, I'm here for you. I don't remember that. I can't tell you how it feels to, have your dad be there for you and talk to you when needed. I don't know what it's like to have to come home and your mom is there waiting for you and to hug and kiss you when you're over 21. I've never had that. There are so many different things that I missed out on that I wanted to enjoy with my parents, but because of the flaws and because of the things that they dealt with and never, in a sense, took responsibility for, allowed my brothers and I to go through what we were going through. And to this day, I know my brothers are sitting here still fighting those vices and still fighting those demons, and I'm just always trying to tell them that it's okay. You can release them. We're grown now. We don't have to go through the same situations mentally. We don't have to go through the same situations when we have children, as long as we remember the examples and remember the things that happened to us, and to be better. And even though we may love them, and even though they're different, and they put us through what they put us through, but we can be better than them, because we have to be, because we don't want to see anybody go through what we've been through, especially our own. Especially our own. My brothers were talented. My brothers were talented. Alfonso and Isaiah were known throughout the entire time of our adolescence age, and even as young kids, just knowing gymnastics. They could do backflips, somersaults, they can do front flips. They can go from one corner to the next in a straight row and do a backflip all the way down from one block to the other. People would bet hundreds of dollars on my brothers and say, can they flip? Can you do 50 flips? Can you do 50 backflips? And my brothers with complete confidence would say yes. But when we moved with our uncle, who took the responsibility that my parents didn't want to take the responsibility to do, which provide a home and a meal for us each and every day, creating a space where my brothers and I could flourish. My brothers went to the Boys and Girls Club, where mostly a lot of young kids from the inner city would go to, and were attracted to Flip City, which was a program catered to kids that were very phenomenal in gymnastics. And my brothers were great. They had the opportunity to go off to Europe, to travel with the Flip City organization, to even train to become the Young Olympics. And I remember my uncle telling my grandmother that as long as we are in his home, as long as we are in their home, we were not allowed to, they need to be in church, and no matter if they were great at doing back flips, front flips, it didn't matter. They have to go to church. And the times that he wanted them to go to church was the time that they had to go to practice. And my grandmother literally said that because we are under his household, she has to take them out. My brothers were great. Do you hear me? They were great at what they did. So instead of flipping in front of hundreds of people in another country, my brothers were flipping for drug dealers and for all the gang members, because of the fact that the opportunity was in the same time frame of going to church. How could that be right? I rarely talk about it, but how could that be right? How can two young kids who didn't have a mother or father, had a pot to piss in, had an opportunity to go into Flip City, to be able to had an opportunity to even practice and try out for the Junior Olympics, could not go because it was in the same time of going to church. But yet my brother is gone. My brother is dead, the other one's in jail. Can't do a backflip if they wanted to because of the fact of an opportunity didn't meet the requirements of an individual who wanted to succeed in making sure that the children that were under his roof went to church. And yet I'm still thankful for the opportunity that he presented by allowing us to stay in his home. But yet, my brothers had an opportunity. They had a God-given talent. A God-given talent that they could have used and shined in the world. But now it was dim. It's gone. The light blew out. And no one talks about it because some people don't even know, and those who know won't say anything about it. And what can I say? I'm here doing what I do with my God-given talent because I couldn't let anybody, from seeing all the things that's happened to us and seeing for family members and friends sit here and dictate how our life should be because we didn't have someone to protect us, someone to guide us, someone to say, no, let them be them. This is what happens. And I'm only able to do what I'm doing because my grandmother stepped in and really became my protector. She became my guidance. She was the one that fought for me, and she's seen it, and she said, I'm not gonna let anybody hinder you from pursuing your dreams. I will make sure of it. And it was at that moment my grandmother took me in and had me live with her for my final years of my high school years so that I can flourish, so that I can be the first in my immediate nucleus of my family, out of my mother and my father and my brothers, be the first one to go to college, the first one to get a degree, because my parents didn't get a degree at all. All my brothers dropped out of college, out of high school. All of them. All of them. And then one went back because someone stepped in to make sure that he can go to the next level. But this is all because of something that happened from the beginning, which is my parents not taking responsibility for the individuals, the human beings that they created together, because of the fact that they considered themselves loving each other, but couldn't even take the responsibility of guiding and growing the things that come out of love.